Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chasing Psychological Safety. This week, again, we need to talk about impression management. Not just any kind of impression management, but a different type, a fifth kind, if you wish. So let's recap a little bit. Impression management is the negative behavior in psychology. We bite our tongue, we don't engage, we don't offer our opinions, we don't criticize, we don't really give the contributions we think we could be giving for fear of appearing a certain way. And those ways are really well defined and discussed in the literature. It's when you're afraid of looking ignorant, you're afraid of looking incompetent, you're afraid of looking negative, or you're afraid of looking intrusive. We put it to you today that there is a fifth one, if you wish, and that is the fear of looking unprofessional. That type of impression management, whenever we don't do something for ourselves, for our team, because we're afraid we're going to be looking unprofessional, that is really damaging. It has really negative effects. And it is something we all need to work on. In fact, if you want to analyze it, it is a little bit of a combination between the fear of incompetent and the fear of looking intrusive. But it has, if you wish, a component that is more of an organizational level component, where we believe we have to have a certain way of presenting ourselves at work. That reflects on us as an individual. We often don't do or say things because it would be unprofessional, but it also reflects on people that act on behalf of the organization when they interact with the tools and the services and the practices that will make their own people better. One of the first things that we've observed a lot in dealing with people that are impression managing against looking unprofessional is when they tell us they don't have the time for it. It's obviously a very common excuse. We all tell each other there's no time for anything, but we all know realistically there's time for the things we believe matter, always, right? We can always make time for things that are priority, and we know that. It's not a new corollary for anyone, except there's a lot of saying we don't have time for this when it comes to doing the people work. And that comes from us as individuals, but also, as we said, from people at an organizational level who are fearing that the people that they ask to do the human work will tell them they don't have time. And that is often, when you start analyzing it, an expression of the fact that there are other issues happening in the background where people have complaints that they haven't brought up, they have exhaustion, they're burnt out, they are tasked with way too much. And all of those times of this is too much are coming out when they are asked to be doing what they perceive to be outside of their professional to-dos. So whenever you ask someone to do the human work and they tell you they don't have time, and whenever yourself as an organizational leader say they won't have time for it, we are propagating the fact that we believe the human work to be less important than other types.
And importantly, the other idea or stereotype that we can propagate really, really easily is that the emotional side of things isn't the domain of a certain type of knowledge worker, or isn't the domain of a certain type of team, or isn't as important as the delivery work when the pressure is on. So the first of those deals with the idea that, we've worked with lots and lots of different kinds of people over the years. And sometimes when we're in the more analytical space, for example, there can be this idea that, these types of people, developers, engineers, whomever it might be, aren't comfortable with or don't like to do, or it's not natural or comfortable for those people to do the emotional work. We absolutely call that out. We've done lots and lots of this, and everybody from opera singers to developers has as strong and as big as emotions as everybody else, and those people need to have emotional intelligence, and it is valuable for those teams to have emotional intelligence. So creating a space where it's safe to say you don't need that is really creating a space for people to impression management, but for fear of not looking professional. The other element of that is this idea that teams might prioritize the human work or the emotional work over the delivery work, particularly when the pressure's on. It's down to the whole team and the leader to prioritize the human work in order to speed up the delivery work and make that delivery even more timely and to budget and of quality. And all of those things only come if we really and truly do the human work first. So that emotional idea, and also the idea that teams won't want to do the fluffy emotional work. Our experience time and time and time again, and the experience of huge numbers of people who are deep in this kind of work, is that once you introduce a team to the emotional work, you engage them intellectually and then you engage them emotionally. It doesn't matter what kind of person you've got in the room, they value the work, they see the value, and they really get on board with it and become kind of addicted to doing it as well. So you'll see light bulb moments going off everywhere. You'll see a team that's more emotionally bonded and connected. And that's the final piece, that a team somehow doesn't need an emotional bond in order to do work. Again, we call that out. It's not the case at all. The closer that a team is, the better they know each other. Whatever boundaries they want to set for that, that's fine. But a team that knows each other as human beings on some level works better together. That is simply the truth that we've seen evidenced time and time again through our work and through the research that exists in this field.
So to recap, anytime we say or hear others say there's no time for it, that is impression management against looking unprofessional and taking the hard, important conversations about the human work. Anytime we hear people say our people are not emotional, is really disastrous. We're taking away the permission of being human, which we all need more of, not less of. It is an antiquated view that we've had for the last few 20 years of this robot-like workplace where you're not those emotions, but realistically there is no way to separate the individual with feelings and natural reactions from the person that you expect to have in a work call. So keep those things in mind. Check yourself. If you say if you hear yourself saying we've already done some human work, we'll be fine, or we've already bought some software, we're good, or we've already done coaching last year, we're okay. All of those things are essentially you impression managing against having, in your heart of heart, you have to take this conversation again, do some of this work again, potentially look like that one person that keeps upholding the fluffy things again, and you're avoiding doing that. Catch yourself, stop yourself from doing it, see others around you do it and help them stop themselves, because it is the type of impression management that we have to try and start avoiding if we want to feel better and have a much more functional and healthy, psychologically safe work environment. Thank you for listening to us, and we will talk to you next week. Meanwhile, come talk to us. We are still running a promotion for our software where you can get it to try out for free, no obligations, for 4 weeks, which means that at the very least you'll get a diagnosis of how your tool, of how your team is doing through the tool in terms of psychological safety over those 4 weeks. You might even be doing some of the human actions. You might propulse yourself into a good few months of safer team bonding if you can kind of get on the software and get on with the human work. So thank you for listening to us. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.